The rains had turned a low hollow of the savannah into a deadly trap. What looked like solid ground was only a crust above deep mud. A lioness had stepped too far. Now her body sank to her chest, legs trapped in the sucking mire. Each time she tried to heave upward, the mud swallowed her deeper. Her golden coat was streaked black, her amber eyes wide with panic. She raised her head and let out a raw, strangled cry. Her cub circled the edge of the pit, mewling frantically. It pawed at the mud, tried to pull at her mane, but its tiny body was powerless. Again and again, it called to her, high-pitched and desperate. The lioness rumbled in return, voice weaker each time. Refusing to give up, the cub scrambled from the pit's edge and staggered toward the dirt track that cut across the grassland. Its cries carried far until a jeep appeared, rattling over the dry earth. A forest ranger slowed, frowning, as the cub ran straight into his path. At first he thought it meant to attack, but then he saw the trembling. Its legs shook so badly it could hardly stand. The little creature stretched a paw toward him, then pressed it to its chest as if begging. A broken cry burst from its throat, not a growl, but a thin, childlike sob. The cub lowered its head, ears flat, then spun back toward the trees, glancing over its shoulder with wide, wet eyes. The ranger froze, heart thudding, then followed. The cub darted ahead, stopping often to be sure he came, its cries guiding him. Soon the smell of wet mud grew strong. Through the brush, he saw her, the lioness half submerged, her body trembling, her eyes wild with exhaustion. She stretched her paw weakly toward him, not fierce but pleading. The ranger's jaw tightened. He radioed for support. Another jeep arrived with ropes and a winch. The men moved fast, throwing coils around a nearby tree and looping cables toward the lioness. The cub paced the rim, crying louder, while its mother gave a low rumble, as if telling it to hold on. Engines roared, the cables pulled taut. Mud sucked and gurgled as the lioness's body shifted. For a moment it seemed hopeless. The mire clung like glue. Then, inch by inch, she rose. Mud cascaded off her flanks as she heaved higher, her cries rough but alive. With one final pull, the rangers dragged her clear. She collapsed onto solid ground, sides heaving. The cub leapt onto her chest, pressing its face into her muddy fur, mewling with joy. Weak but alive, the lioness lowered her head and licked it again and again, each stroke trembling yet full of love. The rangers stood back, mud-smeared and silent. For a long moment, the lioness's eyes found theirs. There was no roar, no fury, only recognition and gratitude. Slowly she rose, her cub pressed tight against her. Together they turned and disappeared into the tall grass. In the churned earth by the pit remained their story. Deep boot prints of the men, and beside them, the paw prints of mother and child, pressed so close they almost touched. Sometimes the wild does not roar, sometimes it sinks in silence, and another heart chooses to answer. If this rescue moved you, share it with someone who loves animals. Leave a comment, we read everyone. And don't forget to subscribe for more true rescue stories that remind us of hope, compassion, and the bond between humans and the wild.